Okay, I wanted to do a live talk. I did a video on this. I said it was one of the most important videos I've ever recorded, and I think this is going to be one of the most important live calls. I'm not going to do it super long. I'm going to get to the point. I'm actually going meeting some friends at a comedy club tonight. So I want to talk about this. 12 foundations of the good life: health, wealth, love, and happiness. So like what I'm going to go over here in about like 20 minutes, and I'll take some question and answers, is basically what I wish I had been taught at age 19 coming out of high school. Like, this is everything they should have taught us, and it's pretty simple. If you understand this, you will have a huge advantage in life. Most people are stuck in life for 30, 40 years. In all those areas, health, wealth, love, and happiness, like they all kind of suck. And I've been there, and so like with wealth, like I've been on both sides of the table there at that discussion with like no money, and I've made $1 million in an hour. So I can tell you both sides of that story. I've been in good shape and I've gotten out of shape. I've had a bad social circle and I've had an amazing one. I've been depressed, I've been happy. So like, that's the first thing I guess I'll say is there's like, everything in life is like good news and bad news, if you notice. Like you get good news, but then you get the bad news with it. So if you look at all four of these, like health, wealth, love, happiness, right? You can be, so there's the four. 1, 2, 3, 4. But within each of these, you have two choices. You're going to be on the right side or the wrong side. The right side or the wrong side. The right side or the wrong side. And like, I see people who have a ton of wealth, but are depressed. They kill themselves. Like De Beers, the guy who started the diamond company, the most famous diamond company, De Beers, he got a check. He sold the company, richest man. I think it was the biggest check ever. It was like $100 million check in the 1800s. It's worth like billions now. He got one check for that. And I think within a week, he jumped off a boat and committed suicide in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. The guy who started Victoria's Secret jumped off a bridge, committed suicide. So there's people, the guy, De Beers, was on the right side of wealth. He had all the money in the world. The guy who started Victoria's Secret, obviously a multimillionaire, sold it. But over here on happiness, he was on the wrong side. So what I wish they had taught us in school is like how to get on the right side of all four of those at the same time. And I see people, I have friends that are like incredible shape. They're on the right side of health. They're the healthiest people. Like I got friends that are like, can bench press 500 pounds and they're like ripped and they have a six pack, but their social circle sucks. They're like around the worst people in the world, people who betray them, people who cheat on them. I'll give you an example. One of my business partners and friends, he makes so much money, you can't even believe it. He makes $6 million a month, okay? 6 million net. That's a net, not gross, okay? This is what he keeps. He makes so much money, he don't even know what to do with it. But his social circle, he's on the wrong side of social circle. And recently this year, he had a business with his best childhood friend. And he made a deal with his friend. His friend doesn't have to do any of the work. He would do all the work, but his friend would like open up the bank accounts and just do basic stuff. So they had joint bank accounts, and he woke up one day and he tried to pull the money out of the bank account like he did every month. And the friend had stolen millions of dollars right out of it. His best friend. He called up his friend and was like, hey, there's no money in the bank account. And his friend didn't answer. Texted him, emailed. The friend ghosted him. Literally within like a month, he got a letter from his childhood friend's lawyer saying, we took all the money, it's ours, and was suing my friend, even though he just got betrayed. So once again, this dude's he's on the right side of wealth, the wrong side of love and friendship and social life. So I almost never meet people that are on the right side of all four of these things. But at the end of the day, what does it matter to have a six-pack if your bank account is stressing you out because every month you can hardly pay the bills? Or what does it matter to have all the money in the world if your friends rip you off? Dane Cook, the comedian, his brother stole $10 million out of his bank account. His brother's in federal prison now. So I think, like, how do you get on the right side? Well, here's my answer. I came up with this thing that I keep in my head, and I've never really revealed this. I've talked about it once on my Snapchat. 12 foundations. If you get these 12 foundations right, you can get health, wealth, love, and happiness at the same time. That's the key, at the freaking same time. So what are they? So basically, there's 12 things. 3 here, 1, 2, 3. 3 here, 3 here, and 3 here. 3 principles you have to know. For example, for wealth, I'll just give example. I don't have time to go through all. To teach you the 12 foundations, I need 12 hours. I need that's a minimum. 1 hour on each of the foundational principles. But I'm going to go through them as fast as I can and give you some of it right now. John Bear on YouTube said, Tai, you saved my life. It's funny how many, not funny, but it's amazing how many people I get that are suicidal. I met this guy at New York, in Omaha, Nebraska. He came up to me. He's like, Tai, I want you to know, like, your videos, I was in the bathtub about to slip my wrists, and one of your videos popped up on YouTube, and like now he had started a business and was all happy. His whole life had transformed. And because, not that I have all the answers, but I'm going to share with you the stuff that people taught me. So wealth, what's one of the foundational principles? Okay. This is just for example. I need like an hour to talk on just this one. So here's the core thing. Choice of career. Okay? Just think about how stupid the school system is. Why do you go to school? Like, what do they tell you? Because they want to prepare you for life, right? So you go from age 6 to age 18, and then you go, most people, or a lot of people go to college. Some people go on to PhD. All of that's supposed to prepare you for a career. But nobody ever says, how do you choose? Like, maybe they do a little personality test when you're like your guidance counselor, but your guidance counselor usually doesn't like their life. So why would you listen to a guidance counselor who doesn't even want to be a guidance counselor? Like, that's the hypocrisy of it. They didn't even choose the right career, and they're trying to tell you how to choose the right career. I read an article, they did a global study across the whole continent, every continent in the world, besides Antarctica, I guess. And 80% of people don't like what they're doing for their income, their career. So the first foundation you have to learn is like how to, and even entrepreneurs, I got a lot of entrepreneurs that follow me. It is very possible to start the wrong business, a business that you won't really like. So how do you figure out what career you should do? You have to think of yourself like a detective, and you have to look for clues. And I think there's like 7 clues, and I think of them like circles, and you have to look where they all intersect. And 7, maybe 8, but I think about this. If you can figure that, so one of them is you have to do what's called a psychometric test. Okay? It's kind of like a personality test, but there's specific ones on choice of career. You can see some of them are online. You should look at, I call this the Saturday night test. So the Saturday night test means on a Saturday night when no when no work is needed to be done, what do you actually talk about? Because that shows you your true interest. A lot of people are like mercenaries. They do jobs just for money. They don't like it at all. And the second they get home or the weekend comes, they try to put it out of their mind. If you're doing that, you should automatically stop. That's like a guarantee. Well, one of my mentors, Joel Salatin, says, if you have to take a vacation from your job, you should never come back. So like, it's okay to take a vacation, but if you have to take a vacation because you're so burnt out from what you're doing, what you want to be is in something they call flow. There's a scientist who wrote this book it's literally called Flow. His name is Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi. And he says to be in flow is like when a sailor who loves the ocean is out in the middle of the ocean and he's like pulling on the sail and the wind is pulling and time stops. He's not working. He's not in recreation. None of those. He's just alive. And that feeling of like you're alive, that's flow. And almost nobody has it anymore. I just got back from Australia. I went down there to speak with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I gave a talk, and then Arnold was up there on stage. It was fascinating. It was one thing that I love about Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's 70 years old. You should Google how he looks. I mean, he looks amazing for his age, right? And some people say, oh, it's steroids. And no. There's a lot of people that, the reason that guy looks like he does and is happy and is genuinely happy. We went to dinner with them afterwards. He's in flow. He said, you know what? At 16 years old, I discovered bodybuilding. I owe everything to bodybuilding. He said, bodybuilding gave me 7 Mr. Olympia titles. It gave me, people don't realize he was a real estate millionaire before he was age 30, right here in Santa Monica. Okay, and how did he get that? Like, he was a bodybuilder. People would like talk to him, realtors. He got all these deals. Then he became an actor. He was the highest paid actor in history for one of the Terminator movies. He made $28 million. No one had ever done that. He said that was because of bodybuilding. He said he used to work out in the gym 6 hours a day. It didn't feel like work. He loved it. And he said, if you watch the movie Stay Hungry, he made a couple movies back in the 70s, you can see on his face, and there he is, 70 years old last weekend, and I could see this guy's still in flow. That's what you want. That's better than all the money in the world. That's better than an empire. I see people like, I'm building my empire. But are you in flow? Because that's more important. So that's one of the things that they should have taught us in school. Like, you got to figure out. Now, for you, it might not be bodybuilding. For some of you, it might be nature. For some of you, it might be fashion. For some of you, it's art. For some of you, it's sports. For me, I like travel is a big thing. If you see my Snapchat, like, I get bored. It's not bored, but I love to go. I've been to, I can't even count how many countries I've been to. I was just down there in Australia, and now because of e-commerce and the internet, I make the same amount of money when I'm on an airplane as I do when I'm here. So I've set up my life. Part of me being in flow is being able to go wherever I want. So somebody was like, you want to go to Australia? I'm like, yeah, I don't have to ask anybody. I got enough money, and I set up my income. This is another one of the 12 foundations. I don't know if I'll have time to talk about it, but basically how to set up online automatic income. You want to be on the internet. Trust me, everything's going to be on the internet. And every business not on the internet and every company you work for not on the internet is going to be gone. 123 companies have gone bankrupt in the last year and a half or are on their way to going bankrupt. Toys R Us, gone. One of the biggest companies in history. I think they have 700 stores. They're closing them all because they didn't make the right choice to go online. So you want to be in flow, and then this is for another foundation. You want to set up your business to be automated and to work when you're sleeping. I wake up sometimes and I've made $100,000. On average, when I wake up, I've already made, I'd say a minimum $40,000 all when I wake up while I'm sleeping. So what does that do? That makes me able to do what gives me flow, which is travel and not feel like I'm tied down to one place. Okay, so that's another one, the Saturday night test. Another thing is, it's called the mind map. So you have to look what you grew up around. A scientist named Helen Fisher, she basically says that by the time you're about 14 to 18 years old, you've developed this mind map of how you think the world should work. So for example, if all of your parents were in the medical industry, like your mom was a doctor, your dad was a nurse, whatever it was, right? Your mind has actually been shaped to think of like that's normal to be in the, so that's a hint that maybe you should go into the medical industry. It doesn't mean you have to do what your parents did, but it can be other reasons. You can be, for example, I was around, my dad was in prison when I was born, so I had my mom, but my mom always hung out with hippie people. My mom was a hippie, still is. And she hung around people like my mom's close friends, their name were the De Leons. It was this family, we went to church together, and they never had a house. They had an RV, and they raised 3 kids literally in an RV. And I grew up, their dad was kind of like a father figure for me before I had a dad. His name was Manny De Leon. And I remember how free he was. He didn't care about money. He literally delivered a newspaper. He made enough money. And anytime they had an idea, he would go, let's go up to, I remember one time we were down in San Diego, and he goes, you guys want to go to SeaWorld? And we were like, yeah, we were like 8 years old. He goes, let's park our RV where we live in the SeaWorld parking lot for 1 week. And I went and stayed with them. And for 1 week in the summer, every single day, we woke up and went to SeaWorld. So I realized in my mind map, my mom, because she was a freedom-loving person, she like hardwired me to value freedom a lot. Now, you might be the opposite. Maybe you grew up in a family that was very like rigid. So you might, I have a friend, my friend Rick Field, he loves routine because his mind map was formed by his father who was in the Air Force. And his father was like very military. And so to this day, my friend Rick gets a lot of joy and happiness from he likes to know and plan everything out way ahead of time. I hate it, but he loves it. So everybody has a different, so when he chooses a career, he can choose one that would give me a heart attack. It gives him a lot of pleasure. So ask yourself, like even write down right now, what is the thing that your mind map as you were growing up, what was it formed around? Don't excuse that, like don't think that's not important. What you grew up around is a big deal. It affects you for a long time. Okay. Let me take a few questions. All right. Yep. Somebody said Toys R Us is gone. Someone said, Ty, I'm in your 67 steps. Someone said they love freedom. Who here has ever done a psychometric test to figure out what you should do for a living? That's a big one. There's ones like the Myers-Briggs. Those are important. I'm an ENTP. You can look at, there's people that are INFJs. They're like better as writers, or INTJs. They call them the architect. One of my friends, Sam Ovens, he's an INTJ. He's very good at building businesses behind the scenes. Like he doesn't really put his face out there as much, and he does super well, and he makes millions of dollars from doing that. So knowing like this, anyway, if I had a whole hour, I could go into this more and more because there's all these other things. I'm going to put a link for those of you who want to get, I decided, so after many years, like I started going on social media in 2014. So it's been roughly 4 years. And this is the most important thing that I think I've ever put out. I built this test group of people who want to go into the 12 foundations and have me train you on all 12 of these. Like I said, it takes about 12 hours, 1 hour per foundational tip. And it's 3 for health, 3 for wealth, 3 for love, 3 for happiness. And a lot of you need the wealth ones is the most important, but don't neglect the other ones too. The wealth ones are huge. Picking your career is one. How to create active recurring income. How to invest your money. Isn't it insane, like in the school system, they don't tell you how to make and invest money. How are you going to survive? That means you're going to be a salary slave warrior. That's what I call them. People who every single day have to wake up and grind out. They like never get ahead. Most people never get ahead. They literally, if you think you're going to get ahead, ask your parents how far ahead they got over 20 years. Or look at your friends' parents. Most people have about an extra 10 grand every decade, like ahead. So like when you're like 18, you barely have any money. 10 years later at 28, if you're lucky, the average American has like 10 grand saved. And by the time the average person is at 70 years old, retirement age, the average American doesn't even have $50,000. That's what I was saying, a roughly $10,000 per decade. That's how people are getting ahead in the world. And so people say to me, well, Ty, that's not me. Like, I'll get ahead faster. Man, be careful of thinking that the laws of the universe don't apply to you. Because that's like, I have a friend who, it was funny. He swore that he could eat junk food and not get fat. And when he was like 19 years old, he's like, see, I mean, at Taco Bell, look at my six pack. And my mom, this is what my mom said to him. My mom was smart. She goes, at 19, you can get away with anything. Wait a few more years. So the dude was like, no, man, like I have a super metabolism, like blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this whole thing. And sure enough, I saw him about 10 years later. This dude didn't even look like the same guy, because the habits of the mind that you build, it doesn't get easier. If you don't have self-control at 18, you think you magically get more control at 28 and 38. No, life gets worse for people. So that's what I was saying. The bad news of this talk that I'm talking about is like, for those of you who ignore like the 12 foundations, which like I said, I haven't had time to explain them all because it takes about an hour each, but I promise you, I can predict people's future. In fact, if you want to do a test, I can predict almost everybody's bank account by hell. I can tell you how much money within $100 you have in your bank account just by asking you about the 12 foundations. Like, number one, are you in flow with your career? Did you pick the exact perfect career where it doesn't even feel like work, where sometimes you forget you're even working? Like you're just living, you're just alive. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger said, he was just lifting weights. He was down at Venice Beach. There was beautiful women around. They were like filming. He just loved it, man. He just loved life. If you said, oh, you're at work, he would be like, I'm not working. I'm enjoying life. Like literally, so number one, I can guess your bank account if you answer that question. Number two, how good of an active investor are you? Okay? So there's passive and active investing. Like, how much real estate do you own on the side? It can be part-time. How much do you have an e-commerce business set up on the side? So that's an active business you're actually managing. So most people, the answer is 0. They don't own an extra house that they rent out. They don't have like a Shopify or e-commerce site set up. Nothing. You know, I was in Australia and it was wild. I'm in Australia, right? And a girl who used to work for me, Charlotte, she was there. You guys are gonna be my guests I have 2 people in my audience. Give them a chair up here, Alma. I do better when I have somebody listen. I have 2 people here listening. I have a whopping 2 people in my living room. So she worked for me. She's 26 years old. And one of the things she learned working for me, just by observing, is how to make money online. So she started this company. You guys can Google it. It's called Om and Awe. OhmandAweLondon.com. Like Om, you know, like Buddhist. It's like OHMAND AW or something. I don't know. If you Google Om and Awe, however you can spell it, it'll come up. So she built this website 1 year ago. She moved back to London working for me. And now I was just with her and Jeremy, my best friend. And she made $800,000 last month, gross, and she netted $160,000. Okay, and three of them own the company together. So she's got active freaking income. So the 12 foundations, one of the 12 foundations is how to create active income, even if it's part-time. And if you don't have, this is what they should have taught us in school. It's a tragedy. You literally have hundreds of millions of kids graduating high school and graduating college do not know how to create an income for themselves. They are completely dependent on a company to pay their salary. But you know what? 123 companies, huge companies, went bankrupt. And more are coming. I just found out JCPenney's still around. I was like driving down the street somewhere. I'm like, there's a JCPenney's? Who the hell goes to JCPenney's? Amazon put that shit out of business, or will put it out of business. Sears will be, even Walmart is shutting down stores because they didn't figure out active income. So everybody, if you don't know active income, you're going to regret it. Real estate. Real estate made the most millionaires in American history. So I have a real estate program. It's not even open now. You can't get in, so I'm not trying to market it to you. I had a test group, but I closed it. And one of my students was a guy in Europe. He's not even America. There's more opportunity in America, but this guy couldn't get a visa to come to America, so he did it in Sweden. His first month he made $17,000, but here's the crazy thing. I just posted on my Snapchat. He just closed his biggest deal ever. He made $170,000. I think he's 22 on one deal, flipping properties. And he started with 0. I showed him how to make active income. And the third thing, I can guess how much money's in your bank account, is how much you know about passive income. So passive income is like the stock market. Real estate can be set up as you can do real estate as active or passive. And passive is also investing in businesses. So I have an investment in a business. Like I'm a passive investor in this business right here. Swanic sleep glasses, actually an Australian company. Here's the crazy thing. These dudes are making, there's two brothers that own it, and I'm the third partner. I'm a minority partner in it, but I don't do any work. So in this company right here, I spend like 1 hour a year maybe, but they're making, I don't know, $150,000 a month. This company right here, Mentor Box, I'm not active in this company. And it's now, we just signed a deal with Walmart, and it's the largest nonfiction book shipping company in the world. We have 46,000 customers. I literally am a passive investor. So let me show you guys something. This is cool. So Shopify, Stripe. I'll pull up the Stripe account. Let's see how much money this company made today. There you go, $25,843. And I spent exactly 0 minutes on it. I do maybe an hour a month. It's made $1.1 million. That's not a screenshot, that's a real account. We started another company, Social Marketing Science. So this is a company that it's a social media agency. I've taught 30,000 people how to make a social media agency, and I have one, and I spend, again, 0 time with it. It made $43,000 this week. That's passive investing. Now, just to be clear, like, it takes a little while to get there. Yesterday, I made $83,000 in businesses that I don't do anything in, okay? Those are businesses, literally, in fact, Alex, my business partner, called me up from a bar at like 1 in the morning. He's up in San Francisco. So I own 50% of all these businesses, and he was like, Tai, he was like drunk, and he doesn't get drunk that often. I'm like, what's happened? He's like, dude, we had our biggest day ever with Mentor Box, the agency, and we have another company. And I'm like, what? I'm like, how much money? He's like, dude, we made $83,000 today. And I was like, cool. That's passive income. And you don't have to make 80 grand a day in passive. You can make like $800 a day or even $80 a day. If you make $80 a day in passive investing times 30 days, that's $2,500 a month that you do no work for. That's pretty good. So that's one of the 12 foundations. Another one of the 12 foundations, I was just talking to somebody about this, what I wish they had taught me in school. If you don't know how to read people, you're going to have a shitty life. I guarantee you, you're going to have a disaster life, even if you make 80 grand a day passive investment. I told you, one of the big things for me now, so I set a goal this year. I'm going to document taking 300 people from rags to riches. I like that movie 300, so I'm like, I'm going to do the same shit. I'm going to take 300 people from rags to riches, okay? So I started. Now here's the problem. I've been taking all these people starting last year, like documented, like, dude, they're millionaires now. And they're like getting ripped off. I had a friend who wired, there's a company in Florida that's like, wire us $400,000 or 150, whatever, it was 6 figures. And it was a scam, and he got ripped off. And so now it's like funny. At first I was like, I wonder if I'm going to be able to teach people what my mentors taught me. And I was like, oh, but now that's not the problem. Now the problem is I realized I got to teach people how to tell who the good people in their life are and bad people. I'm going to tell you this, in the modern world, I swear to you, there's now officially more bad people in the world than there are good. Let me not say bad, because I don't want to be like a judgment call. I don't know. I'm not God. This is there's a lot of mentally unhealthy people in the world. All these school shootings, all this shit, these people are psychos. Whether or not they have guns, I'm not saying there shouldn't be gun control or whatever. That's not my expertise. But I'm going to tell you this. In London, they took away guns, and there's more stabbings in London because you can't take away knives. So the only solution is to make people mentally healthy. But we live in a world, I promise you 100 years ago, there was less there was still crazy people, don't get me wrong. But it probably started around the rise of large cities, which was about 100 years ago. My grandma is such a better person, and she was born in 1918. She's like 100 years old. Okay, people 100 years old she grew up in a small town in Germany. She like has her head screwed on straight. Dude, I meet people in LA. I met a dude who came to one of my conferences. I told Maya, this motherfucker, if he shot up this whole place, I would not be surprised. There was crazy people like Adolf Hitler, but there wasn't many. There was Stalin, and there was Hitler, and there was Mao Zedong. Nowadays, you got people everywhere, literally unhealthy. So one of the 12 foundations, 3 of the 12 foundations is how to create wealth. Three of them, and more important than wealth, in my opinion, is how to surround yourself with the most amazing people in the world. And I can tell you the happiest times of my life, for sure, a couple of months ago in January, I did a conference, and I do these conferences, and like people think I'm trying to make money. I don't even make money on conferences. Like I have to spend like 50 grand to just rent out the place, but I fly in all my mentors who I haven't seen in years. So I fly in Joel Salatin from Virginia. He was my mentor after high school when I was 19 years old. He's the first person I ever met who knew how to build a business. And at 19, he showed me how to build a business. And then Dr. David Buss, who's like the #1 evolutionary psychologist in the world. I flew him in, and I flew all these people. And after the conference was over, we sat in this back room and we just had a dinner. And I was happier then talking to good people. We were talking about philosophy and life and love and like everything. And I was just sitting there, and I told Maya, my cousin, I was like, I'm more happy now than I've made $1 million in an hour before. Okay, I can tell you. I remember making $1 million in a year, and I remember making $1 million an hour. I was not that excited. When I made $1 million in an hour, I was in a bad mood that day, and it's weird. I swear. I know this sounds cliche. I literally I was in a bad mood about something else, and making $1 million, I was like exactly the same. I mean, I was like, okay, it was more than $1 million, but it was like I made $1 million in a day. I've done it more than once. When I was at that dinner with good people, I was freaking like, yes, this genuinely makes me happy. So I think that's why I say the 12 foundations, you have to build all health, wealth, love, happiness, all four. I know a guy, he's not my friend, but he's worth $2 billion, but he's so fat he can't get out of bed. He literally has like whatever, he's like hooked up to machines on dialysis and all this. Here's a mental exercise. If I would wire you $2 billion right now, but you'd be so sick you couldn't get out of bed, would you do it? And the answer is no. Why would you want $2 billion to be in bed and not be able to use it? So once again, what do they not teach people in school? Anything about health. I'm writing this book. I'm 2 years into a 5-year experiment. I've spent $1 million trying every health supplement and weird shit in the world, stem cell, everything. So I'm like in the 12 foundations, I'll tell you what I've learned. I've spent I think $900,000 so far trying everything. It's insane. And some stuff works and a lot of stuff doesn't. And I've tried every diet. I can have personal chefs and all this stuff. For me, by the way, money is all about getting the other stuff. So you do want money, because with no money, you're somebody else's bitch. I can tell you that. There's a good book out by Nassim Taleb, the guy who wrote The Black Swan, this famous mathematician. And he says this thing, like, when you are controlled by another person, you're never happy. So for me, it's not about how much money I make. In fact, this year, I'm trying to make less money than last year. Why? I know that sounds insane. Some of you need to make more money, but at some point, money is whatever. I realized, I'm like, okay, you make 50 million, 100, nothing gets better, but you get more stress and you get more annoying people. That's why I've been cutting back my company. One of my companies had 72 people. I have different companies, but one of them had 72. I was like, Maya, can we just cut back to 20? More people, more problems. So what am I trying to do? I'm trying to build the balance that's on the board. You get this, you'll be the happiest person in the world. You get enough money, healthy, not sick, good. When I say love, I mean friends, family, romance, those three. Because family is the cause of a lot of problems. You got to know how to deal with your family. Friends, and then happiness. You got to control anxiety. I'll tell you what the 12 foundations are for happiness. You have to control anxiety and procrastination and worry. All those go together. Fear. Dude, it's huge. I would say half the world has massive anxiety. So if your brain loops, like late at night you think of stuff, like little things go, you have high anxiety, you have to fix it. But the other two is procrastination. Procrastination is almost a disease as big as cancer. In fact, if I ask this group, how many people here know what they should do but isn't doing it? The whole group raises their hand. Literally. So, hold on one second. I got to go in a second. All right, I'm gonna put a link up because like I said, I gotta go. I'm a little bit over. If you wanna get in the 12 Foundation, I'm gonna put a link. We'll pin it here, or what is it? Or you can just go here. And again, not everybody has to go into this, but I've opened up everything I've learned since being an entrepreneur at 19. It's the first time I've ever put it in one program. So I wanna make a test group. If you guys wanna go in, you can just go to tailopez.com/ and then join 12, like the 12 foundations, the number 12. So there'll be a button below if you're on my website, or I think we have like 3,000, how many people? 30,000? Whatever. About 30,000 people are gonna watch this. Some of you are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, or my live, my website. You can just go there, or you can click on the link. Go in. Some people go, now, I'm not gonna charge that much money. I have programs that are like 50 grand to get into. I wanna let a ton of people in. This is kinda like the 67 steps, but I think better. So you're gonna get 12 videos. They're 1 hour on each of the foundations. And then I've got bonuses, a Facebook group. I've got weekly training if you wanna go into that too. But let me read the names of some of you. I'm just gonna keep this button up, I don't know, for another 20 minutes or something. If you wanna get in, don't feel any pressure. Some of you will figure out life on your own, but I'm gonna tell you this will save you 10 years. One of my friends in the NBA, I posted this on my Snapchat. He wrote me today. He was like, dude, what is this about the 12 foundations? I want to go in. So it's amazing. No matter how successful people are, people still realize they got to learn. What else? Any questions on this? Tai, are most of your businesses funnel-based? No, I mean, I have different businesses, man. But some of them are, like, I do real estate. That doesn't have anything to do with the internet. Tai, I'm 17 years old from Nepal. What advice would you like to give me about money? Sagat Shrestha. Okay, I'm going to give you advice real quick. If I was, what are you, how old? 17, or if you're 70. This is the best advice you will ever get about making money. Become a learning machine. If you become a learning machine, life's going to open up to you. Read as much as you can. Find mentors. Go to conferences. Be the most open-minded person in the world. When I die, the only thing I want to be on my grave, I wanted to say, Tai was a mad scientist. Like, be a mad scientist. Instead of thinking you know everything, experiment with everything. If I see somebody saying, oh, dude, I sell clothing online and I'm making $1 million, most people go like this, I don't believe it. But that's not a mad scientist. That's a person who's stubborn. I go, hey, how are you doing it? Tell me, what's your secret? I fly to where they are and like, dude, can I take you out to dinner? I took a guy out to dinner who's one of the biggest email marketers in history. He has a list. He sends out 600 million emails a day. He's not a spammer, but he's almost a spammer, okay? And he was in New York City. I tracked him down. Most people say, oh, he's a spammer, because I'm not a spammer, so we don't do that. But I wanted to learn, what the heck does this guy know that I could apply to my life? I took him to this steak dinner. Jim Rohn used to say, poor people should take rich people to dinner. And he said, people get mad at him. They say, no, rich should take poor to dinner. And he said, it doesn't work like that. The rich are just busy doing their own thing. When you're poor, take a rich person to dinner. And then, this is what I did. I took so many notes. I still have these notes. I use Evernote. Right there on this app, those were about 7 years ago. I took this guy, his name is Victor. I took him to dinner, and I said, how are you so good at email marketing? And believe it or not, it cost me like $400. It was expensive. I had the money, but it was still $400 to take a dude. It wasn't like a date. It was a guy. And he sat there, and I gave him wine and alcohol, and he was like, he just opened up. He's like, you want my whole playbook? You're a nice guy, Tai. You took me out to dinner. And he just told me everything about, here's how you build your MTAs, and here's how you load balance your mail IPs and all this stuff. And I was like, this dude, he goes, I've been doing this for 20 years, Tai. At the end, he goes, congratulations, I just saved you 20 years on learning how to do email marketing. And I was like, wait a second. So I spent $400 and I saved 20 years. Sounds like a good fucking deal to me. 20 years, I paid $20 a year. Would you save, so the kid asking at 14, would you spend $20 to shave a year off off the learning curve of being successful, that's how you make money. Trust me. And the problem with the school system is they burn people out from learning. The average person who graduates high school or college doesn't read another nonfiction book for 3 years because they burn you out in school. So they make you memorize weird calculus. No one needs no calculus if they ain't going into a physics or math. Trust me. Most people are not going to be physicists or mathematicians. Teach them how to do their taxes. Teach them how to do a real estate contract. Teach them how to find business partners. Teach them how to sell something online. That would be way better. The school system's still teaching what the school system is identical to when my grandma was born in 1918. Isn't that insane? Nothing else is the same. When my grandma was born, they're using horses. Now we use cars and soon flying cars, but the school's still the same. How fucked up is that? So for those of you, that's my free advice to you. Become a learning machine. Be open-minded. When you see people doing something, don't assume that it's weird or a scam. Reverse engineer it and do it yourself. And believe it or not, now money starts to come in faster than you could. There's never been a time in history where there's been so many millionaires and billionaires under 30 years old. Never. When my grandma was born, there wasn't one self-made billionaire. Now you got, the girl who started Spanx, she took on no business partners, no debt. She was the first billionaire under 40 years old female. The guy who started, Snapchat, he's a billionaire by 24. Mark Zuckerberg's 32 and has $62 billion. Never happened before. So all of you thinking we live in the worst of times, the only thing that's worse in the modern world is there's more psychologically unhealthy people. So that's another thing I hope you learn in 12 Foundations. I record a video on how to read people. Dude, if I had to be 19 years old again, that was the first thing I'd want people to teach me, not making money. First, teach you how to find the good people. Then second, teach you how to make money. And then you can go from there. Then I wish people taught me how to be happy. Because I remember years of my life, like 2011 was a crappy year for me. The whole year I was unhappy, even though I was making more money than I ever did. And I started learning some things, how to tweak my brain. 2013 was one of the happiest years. It took me 2 years to learn how to be happy. I remember, here's the test on happiness. If you wake up stressed, you ain't happy. If you're not waking up going, what do we got going? Warren Buffett says he's now 88 years old. He said every single day of his life, as long as he can remember, he tap dances out of bed. Isn't that insane? Like what's more, not only does he have $80 billion, he tap dances out of bed. He said the best, he goes, I just feel like dancing every day. Man, I hope and pray everybody listening that one day, soon, that you go, if I said, describe your life to me, you go, you know what, man? I wake up, I'm in flow. It doesn't even feel like I'm working. I'm tap dancing out of bed. Everybody around me is awesome. I feel good. I'm healthy. I'm going places. Man, most of the world's depressed. Most of the world's on anxiety meds. You cannot imagine how many people are on drugs right now. I'm not talking about smoking weed. I'm talking about on weird pharmaceutical stuff. And some people need to be on it, don't get me wrong, but you can't medicate away a real problem. I mean, you can. That's what crackheads do. Most crackheads ain't happy. And a lot of the world's not too far away from a crackhead. So I will tell you, though, the good news is there's a small group of people that are killing it in life. Killing it. I've been collecting these 300. I mean, you can't believe how many people are just crushing life right now. But the media never talks about them. And when people talk about them, people think it's fake. It's not fake. Last year, my top student made $1.2 million from zero. I showed him how to make $1.2 million. He sent me, it's a cool thing. His name is Jaden Gross. Check this out. I want to show you this. He sent me this morning. He made a WhatsApp group called Thankful. And watch this. He's buying a big house. And he recorded a 6-minute, where is this thing? It was wild. I just woke up to it. And he's like happy, man. Oh, it's called Grateful, not Thankful. Sorry. Here he is. And he's showing this house he got. It's like 5,000 square foot house. Last year, it's been about 15 months. He was sleeping in his parents' house, never had a bank account. This year, in 1 year, he grossed $1.2 million and he netted $450,000. No college degree, nothing. And you know how many people I've done? He's not even my best store. He was just a cool story because he likes to come on camera and stuff. But one of the guys from 2014, he's now making 500,000 net a month. He's a health guy. He teaches fitness. It's all there, man. I hope you guys will learn from 12 Foundations. I got to go. I'm a little bit late to something. Click the link below. Get in 12 Foundations. And if you can't afford it, I don't know. It's not that expensive. I didn't make it. I made it the least expensive thing that I have right now because I wanted to help the most people. So, yeah, thank you. Wish I could answer more questions. I got to go. Talk to you soon.